overall perspective and feeling for the world. Everyone, according to their nature, this is quite a well-known principle. Epictetus, Greek philosopher, said, we don't see the world the way it is. We see the world the way we are. I was walking the other morning, just starting a morning walk, and I walked past a fire hydrant, and I was thinking how different entities see it differently. I think I thought of a person who's in the fire department, sees it as a strategic point to put out a fire. And then there might be someone who's parking his car and thinks, this is not a place to park. And then there may be a dog who are famous for urinating on fire hydrants. That's what they do. At least it's a cliche, but I think they do it. And 3 different entities, 3 different souls, 3 different bodies, 3 different mentalities. We could expand that into a multitude. And that is the bhava, or the perspective that one develops, as Kṛṣṇa says in the Gita. The only way to be on time is to be early. Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sarasad yoni janmasu. That's a very instructive verse from the 13th chapter, 22nd verse of 13th chapter, 22nd verse of the Bhagavad Gita, in which Kṛṣṇa says that whatever we are now and whatever situations will be in the future are caused by our association. Whomever we associate with, we become like. And therefore, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is specifically designed to give association with sadhus. The word sadhu comes from the root word in Sanskrit, sad. It has various forms, as all Sanskrit words generally have, according to where they're inflected. So there's the sadhu, who's the one who, sad, by the way, means success. It means to come to a progressive point in life, to make progress. And there is a sadhu, the one who's making progress. There's the sadhya, or the goal that the sadhu is working for. And there's the sadhana, or the practice that gets one to the goal. So when we sing our song in the morning at 4:30 a.m., it's a starting point to remember that we're getting good guidance being passed down through the system of teachers. Comes originally from Kṛṣṇa. The instructions are so important and they're potent in such a way that by following them, one can overcome the hurdle of birth and death. And in the second verse, it's mentioned that those who are in the line of teachings from Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Does everybody know who Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu is? Raise your hand if you've heard of him. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, as I see, it was almost 95%, and I still go on saying the same thing I might have said anyway, is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam in various places. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopangasha Parshanam Yagnai Sankatana Prayara Jantihi Sumedasaha. Karabhajana Muni, especially, the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam mentions the advent of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu by saying that in Kali Yuga there'll be a special incarnation of Krishna. And what is the characteristic of that incarnation of Krishna? Krishna Varnam, Tusha Krishnam. He's not blackish. He's golden, actually. And Sangopangashta Parshadam, he'll be accompanied by his various associates who help him to spread the Sankirtan movement. Yagnai Sankirtana Prayera. And what will he teach? The Yuga Dharma, and that is Sankirtan, or the congregational chanting of the holy name. Yajantihi Sumedasa. People who are Sumedasa. Raise your hand if you're Sumedasa. It means you're smart. Sumeda means very smart. So you're all, you could raise your hands because you're here. 1, 2, 3, go. You're not being unhumble. That's a weird way to put it. It's just a fact. Those who have taken to the Sankirtan movement are known to be intelligent. Sume Dasa. And also he talks about, Karabhajan, when he speaks about Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu in other verses, he says, Jayam sada paribhavagnam abhishtadoham tirtaspadam shiva vrinchi nutam sharanyam pratyartiham pranatapala pababdipotam vande mahapurushate charanadavindam. That is that he's the Mahapurush. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu means the supreme person, and he's fit to be meditated upon. There are other personalities in the world, in fact, a multitude of personalities that people do meditate upon. For instance, famous cricket players, perhaps? No? Nothing like that. Movie stars. If you drive through Mumbai, I saw a throng of people, and I said, who's that? And they said, oh, movie stars over there. Everyone wants to have a look. So there's all types of personalities in this world one might take a look at and even meditate upon. They go home and think, oh, he has dreamy eyes. Deyam Sada. But actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the only one fit to be meditated upon. Deyam Sada. He is the one you can continue meditating upon. You'll never be disappointed. Paribhavagnam. What will happen if you meditate on Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu? Paribhavagnam means paribhava. All the embarrassments of life. What are the main embarrassments? We're in a body that falls apart. And everyone tries to maintain it to the last minute. And they go, well, I'll try again next life. That's samsara. And so he says, paribhavagnam. Gnam means to take away something. And the paribhava, the embarrassment of material life, is destroyed by meditating upon Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. And here's a very nice aspect. Parvam abhishtadoham. We may not even know what to desire in this world. Many people desire things that aren't good for them. Do you agree? Yeah. So people, they want something and it's not good for them, but they want it anyway. Can anybody think of something like that? Somebody wants something and it's not good for them? Can't think of anything? So you could think of anything. Practically everything that people desire is misguided. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, helps us to come to abhishtadoham, that is, to fulfill our innermost desire that actually satisfies us. So the prayer we sang this morning is a celebration of the fact that we're getting guidance that will take us beyond the material world, that will extinguish the forest fire of material existence. And today we're celebrating Radhashtami. This is a particular day that is the appearance day of the Shakti, the supreme Shakti of Kṛṣṇa. We celebrated Janmashtami recently, and now we're celebrating the appearance day of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, who's the eternal consort of Kṛṣṇa. Today is Radhashtami, the appearance day of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Our scriptures, the Shastra, and the great teachers of the Shastra, the Acharyas, give an overview of our situation as living beings, which we are. In the Bhagavad Gita, Kṛṣṇa says that everyone has a particular situation according to the way they've been affected by the three modes of material nature in this world. And he also says in the Bhagavad Gita that he's reciprocating with everybody according to their desires. And so Kṛṣṇa has an overall purpose for the material world. Actually, when you read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 87th chapter, the prayers by the personified Vedas, they mention how there's a dual purpose to this world. One purpose is to give living entities an opportunity to try to enjoy the material nature. But I hate to break it to anybody listening anywhere, but that's not going to happen. We can try and try, but it doesn't add up because we're spiritual beings living in a material world. And the result of trying to get comfortable or to enjoy here in the material world, or even to stave off miserable situations, will be unsuccessful. But there's another purpose for the material creation, and that is to come back to our original consciousness. And we all have an original consciousness, which is called Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And it's an awareness that we're part and parcel of Kṛṣṇa and that we're his eternal servitors. In the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, Kṛṣṇa says, Mamai vamsho jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana, manakshastan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. And that is that all living beings that we see in this world are fragmental parts of Kṛṣṇa. Just as there may be sparks that come from a fire, they have the same quality as the fire, but they're different in magnitude. They're tiny, whereas the fire is unlimited and enormous. Or when you speak about the sun, of course, any metaphor falls short because anything in the material world has a beginning and an end, so we give metaphors that we can use as thought bridges, but Krishna's energy is unlimited, it's eternal. Just as Kṛṣṇa has always existed, we've always existed as well. Kṛṣṇa tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. So, what is our nature? Our nature is that we're pure living entities, and our nature is to be servants of Kṛṣṇa. And in serving Kṛṣṇa, who's the complete whole, we as the parts of the complete whole feel satisfaction, even bliss in that service. But just as when sparks get separated from a fire, depending on where they land, they may be practically extinguished or they may be very faint. They need to be in connection with the fire in order to display their illumination because they're supported by the fire, and it's the same with us. There are various energies in the universe. One of them is this material world, which Kṛṣṇa describes in the Gita as being made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are the gross and subtle material elements. We're superior entities. He says, Apare mitastanyam prakritim vidi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho ya yedam daryate jagat. We're superior to the material nature. We're a different kind of energy. We're conscious, just like Kṛṣṇa is. Nonetheless, because the material energy is Kṛṣṇa's energy, and it comes from Kṛṣṇa, as Kṛṣṇa says in the Gita, Daivahi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamevye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. He says it's the divine nature, even though it's external and material, and even though we're superior to it because it's Kṛṣṇa's energy, then we're susceptible to come under its control. In the Gita 7th chapter, Kṛṣṇa says, Tribir gunamayar bhaverebi sarvamidam jagat mohitam nabijanati mamebhya paramavyayam. That to all living beings in this world, no matter how powerful they are, materially are still under the control of the three modes of material nature, which are emanations from Kṛṣṇa. So, what is the way that we can change the situation that I talked about in the very beginning, which is being subjected to the stringent laws of material nature, which force us to take on newer and newer material situations, all of which have the same characteristic, and that is that they're miserable. Well, that's what I said in the beginning, Kṛṣṇa consciousness. And the Kṛṣṇa consciousness has characteristics. That is, pure consciousness is characterized by the impetus to serve Kṛṣṇa without any desire for material gain. And it's ever increasing and it never stops. It's not that we take it up and then we do something else, but it continues. This is the statement of Sutta Goswami at the very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, when he describes or answers, that is, the sages who have asked him what is the supreme destination for all humanity. And he says, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhoksaje ahai tukya pratiyata yatma suprasidati. That is, that the supreme occupation for all humanity is to render unmotivated, uninterrupted service to the Supreme Lord. And by doing that, then one feels satisfaction of heart. And this type of consciousness is exemplified in the spiritual world. In the material world, we have desire. And in the spiritual world, the living entities, who are like us, only they're not affected by the three modes of material nature, also have desire. And in the Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita, which describes the spiritual world and also talks about Kṛṣṇa and his counterpart, Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, whose appearance day we're celebrating today, describes the difference in desires between those who desire material things in the material world and those who are in the spiritual world and also have desires. So that's an important point to start with. And that is that we have desire, whether we're in the material world or the spiritual world. Some people think that spiritual perfection means to give up all desires. Of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks Kṛṣṇa what it's like to be a self-realized soul, Kṛṣṇa says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parta manogatan atmanyeva manatushta stita pragnasta dochite. And that is that a person who's fixed in consciousness notices that there are material desires flowing from the mind, which is like a little factory that produces all kinds of ideas for enjoyment in the material world, at least in the beginning, until it becomes completely purified. And that's something else that we can describe later, if there is a later, since I'm running out of time already. And that is that he says prajahati, which means the person's able to make some space between him or herself and the material desires that are coming through the mind. Did your mind ever offer you some suggestions of ways that you could combine things in the material world and be happy? Really? Like what? There's combinations of food, there's combinations of majors you can take, there's combinations of ice creams. We used to have 3 only. I don't want to scare anybody here, but when I was a kid, and this may sound like supreme deprivation, we only had 3 flavors of ice cream: chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. That's it. There was no conception. Oh, vanilla. Did I say vanilla? Yes. Vanilla, strawberry, chocolate. See, I'm freaking out the kids here. I know this is a family show. There was no gelato. There was no 31 flavors or whatever they have. Only 3. Anyway, we're always looking to add more flavors to everything, to try to add more combinations and permutations to whatever we do. If you ride a bicycle, that might not be good enough. You have to ride it off a cliff and see if you can survive at the end. Everyone wants to try something, and in the material nature, Krishna's giving opportunity for people. So you be a bird. You jump off a cliff. You're very light body. Bones are hollow. You're not going to, even if you jump off, you're not going to die. But everyone wants to experience some kind of interaction with the world and some variety to try to enjoy it. That's quite natural. But when we do that in the material world, the result is not what we hope for. Ultimately, Kṛṣṇa says, in the material world, when we have this interaction between ourselves and the material energy, we end up feeling cheated. First of all, it gets boring after a while, doesn't it? People get bored, they do something for a while, and they say, can't we do something else? And even if they get addicted to it and they have to keep doing it, it's so boring, but they still can't stop doing it because they don't have an alternative. But in the spiritual world, it's different. The devotees who become purified by the process of Krishna consciousness develop spiritual desires. And what is a spiritual desire? Well, first of all, Kaviraj Goswami, who's the author of the Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, which is a biography of Lord Chaitanya, the most recent avatar of Krishna, and also it gives his the instructions that he gave about how to practice devotional service. It says that Atmendriya Priti Vansha Taribalikam. There's a vansha means desires, just like we say vansha kalpatarubhyascha, vansha kalpatarubhyascha. There's a way vansha that the devotees fulfill all desires. That's where we heard that before. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha. So he says that atmendriya priti. So priti means love. And indriya means senses, and atma means yourself. So atmendriya priti means a love for your own senses. And that means that I'm working and gathering together resources so that I can satisfy my own senses. That's what's called love for one's senses. Atmendriya priti vansha tari balikam. Balikam means that's what's called kam or lust, or material desire. Kam, material desire, lust. And let me give you the definition of a material desire that will change your life forever in a good way. And that is a material desire, or kama means a desire that can never be fulfilled. Feel better? Thank me later. So then he says, Krishnendriya priti icha. Icha also means desire. But Krishnendriya priti, do you hear a difference in the two lines? Atmendriya priti, indriya and atma get merged together through Sandhi rules. So you have atma and indriya becomes atmendriya. So atmendriya priti, love for my senses, what is that called? Tari, Bali. Let's hear it now. Oh no, you're not all getting it now. Kam. And what is kam? Lust, material desire. And what's the characteristic of material desire? You can't fulfill it. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yona evate adyantavanta konteya nateshu ramate Buddha. He says, an intelligent person, a Buddha, is somebody who knows this. So you got to know this first, that a material desire can't be fulfilled. He goes a step further, though. Not that it just can't be fulfilled. He says, when you try for it, the minute you try for it, that's when you start suffering. It's like, I'll fulfill this desire, now you suffer. And the result of your interaction with a material desire, which means I want to satisfy myself, he says, Krishna says, that from the womb of that interaction comes a little fella called Dukhi. And if anybody knows who Dukhi is, well, you don't want to know him. He's a little rascal who just causes you problems day and night, little Dukhi. Little Dukhi means misery. Dukhi, dukkha, duk means unhappiness. It actually literally means bad space. So little Dukhi comes out and turns everything into a bad space. So that's what the Atmendriya Priti brings. Then he says, Krishnendriya Priti Icha Dari Prem Nam. Dari Prem Nam says, now this is what we call prema. So there's two ideas here. One is calm. Everyone say calm. Is that good or bad? Bad. And then we have prema. So that's good. So let's test it out. Calm. Prema. Okay. Prema. Prema. Calm. Very good. That's all you need to know. So he says this prema is in relationship to satisfying Krishna's senses. If you love Kṛṣṇa, and Kṛṣṇa has senses, as we know from the Sri Brahma Samhita, Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti, pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti, ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindamani purusham. His senses are amazing. He can accept our offerings. He can eat with his ears. That's what this verse says. Can you all eat with your ears? Can you eat with your ears? Have you seen him eating with his ears in private? No? Kṛṣṇa can eat with his ears. He can reach out across universes and accept your offerings. If you lift up a flower very sincerely and you say, Kṛṣṇa, please accept this flower. I just want to offer this to you out of love. I grew it for you. He can reach all the way from Goloka Vṛndāvana and take your flower. Therefore he says in the Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam palam toyam, yo me bhaktya prayachiti, taraham bhaktuparitam. Ashnami means whatever you offer me, I'll taste it, I'll smell it, I'll accept that offering. So this is called devotional service, and it's also known as Krishnendriya Priti, love for Krishna's senses. Krishna is a person, he has senses, and we want to please Kṛṣṇa by pleasing his senses. So, Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī is Krishna's Shakti, his primal energy that is known as Hladini Shakti. Now, there's several Shaktis in the spiritual world, or in the internal potency, we sometimes say. There are various potencies. I mentioned them briefly. The Vishnu Purana, which Chaitanya Mahāprabhu quoted when he spoke to Sanatana Goswami, said that these three potencies, Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta, Kshetra Gyakya Tata Para, Avidya Karma Sangyanya, Tritiya Shaktirita. Tritiya, three different general categories of energies. One is the internal energy, the spiritual world. The next one is the material world. And what else is there? We ran out. What else could there be? Marginal potency. The marginal potency is... Point to somebody who's in the marginal potency. Souls, the living beings, the little sparks of Kṛṣṇa. We're actually in a very fortunate position because we get to serve Kṛṣṇa. We get to appreciate Kṛṣṇa. What's the use of a king if he doesn't have any subjects, right? What's a beehive if there's no queen bee inside? Nothing. Everyone takes off. They think, no, this is no fun. So the living entity has the eternal occupation. Here's what your eternal occupation is. You can write it on your immigration form if you're ever going through customs, and it says, what's your occupation? And you just write in there, appreciator. I appreciate God. And you're part of God, so I appreciate you too. And then they'll let you in the country. It doesn't matter what else you put on your form. So this formula, or this description of these three energies is important because you have to know where you are. So when we're in the material energy, we're subject to the laws of the material world, and we may become disoriented, and we may think that happiness comes from satisfying our own senses. But Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu taught devotional service, which means to start using our senses to please Krishna's senses. Now someone may say then, what's in it for me? You want to say that? Go ahead, what's in it for me? Well, the scripture answers, says, Sarvopati vanir muktam tat pratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktir uchate. And that is that when you serve Krishna's senses, even while you have material senses, then your senses become purified. And what happens then? Then you can enjoy spiritual happiness, and it's the opposite of the material experience. Whereas in material happiness, There's a beginning and an end. Antavanta kunteya. Krishna says the reason smart people don't like material happiness or lust is because it has a beginning and an end. Why would you start something that's going to be taken away from you or it's going to be over? So spiritual happiness doesn't have an end. It continues and it increases. That's what we want, because that's our nature. But we don't like the material energy. Say we don't like the material energy. Everything has a beginning and end here. We like the spiritual energy. So the process of devotional service means to use our present senses that are used to engaging in material activities for our own purposes, for love of our own senses, and instead please Krishna's senses. That's called devotional service. And once we engage them in service, the senses become spiritualized and we can start to enjoy spiritual pleasure. Now, in the spiritual world, there's three major potencies. They're called Hladini, Sandini, and Samvit. These are all Sanskrit names, but they just mean that there are a variety of energies that emanate from God that are interacting in the spiritual world in a way that are for pleasing Krishna, and everyone who's engaged in pleasing Krishna in the spiritual world is eternally blissful and happy. Those same energies, when they get transferred to the material world, turn into sattva, rajas, and tamas, these three energies. And the sattvas and rajas and tamas have a particular characteristic here. What was pleasure-giving in the spiritual world here is called what is known as hladatapatraya, which means the harder we try, the more we suffer. The more we try to please our senses, the more we enter into misery. And when we take devotional service, the emblem of all pure devotional service, or the highest level of devotional service, is Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. So Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī is our patron. She shows us what the quality of pure devotional service looks like. And in the Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī and all of her associates, who are all expansions of Krishna's internal potency, only try to please Krishna. They don't want anything in return for their service. They just want to do more and more service for Krishna. And whatever makes Krishna happy, that makes them happy. In fact, there's a story about how one time Krishna had a headache, and he started asking his devotees for some foot dust because he said that would be the medicine that would cure his headache. And he asked Narada to go and look for some devotees who would hand over their foot dust so Krishna could put it on his head and cure his headache. That doesn't sound good, right, Arman? Is that you who made the exclamation? He did it, yeah. See, that's a devotee. He's thinking about Krishna and he's like, I don't want to give my foot dust to Krishna. That's an offense, right? He knows. He's trained up. He knows how to do deity worship. He knows if there's some paraphernalia of Krishna's, you don't step over it. You don't. You're very careful the way you move around the deity and around Krishna, right? So the last thing you'd want to do is say, here's my foot dust, put it on Krishna's head. So Narada went around and he asked all the devotees, and they said, what's the foot dust for? First of all, devotees don't like to give their foot dust anyway, but then they said, Krishna wants to put it on his head, and they say, no thank you. So after trying and trying, he came back. Narada told Krishna, I asked everybody, and they won't do it. Krishna said, you asked everybody? How about the gopīs in Vṛndāvana? So, no, I didn't ask them yet. Go ask them. So he went, and he said to the gopīs of Vṛndāvana, Krishna has a headache. They said, this pained their hearts. He said, there's a cure for it. Yes. What is it? He wants your foot dust. They said, yes. They started taking dust from their foot. He said, wait a minute. All the other devotees said, no, it's an offense. It's an offense? We don't care if we go to hell for this. We don't care if it's an offense. If it cures Krishna's headache, fine with us. We're willing to go to hell for eternity if it cures Krishna's headache. This is a story told to emulate or to exhibit the mood of selfless service that it's for Kṛṣṇa, for his satisfaction, and willing to do anything. And this is the mood of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Now, what's the result of that? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī and her associates in the spiritual world have this selfless mood of serving Kṛṣṇa. They decorate themselves so they're very beautiful. Why? For Krishna's pleasure. They're not thinking, oh, I want to look so beautiful because I'll be the most beautiful one there. Everyone will appreciate me. Maybe I'll get on a magazine cover. They're only thinking this is for Krishna's pleasure. And therefore, the more they endeavor to please Krishna's senses, the more they enjoy. And Kaviraj Goswami says they enjoy more than Kṛṣṇa. That's a problem, right? Because Krishna's the supreme enjoyer. In the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Bhoktaram Yagatapasam. I'm the supreme enjoyer. And by cooperating with my enjoyment, everybody else enjoys. And the gopīs, and Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, they're so interested, exclusively interested in Krishna's happiness. So Kaviraj Goswami says, they enjoy 10 million times more than Kṛṣṇa does. This is the position of the servitor of Kṛṣṇa. If anybody feels, oh, I'm left out, why aren't I God? This is what everyone thinks in the material world. I should be God. Why is there a God and I'm not him? But those are in the spiritual world. They're content, not just content, but they're more content. They're more blissful than even Kṛṣṇa. And especially when it comes to the quality of pure devotional service, Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, whose appearance day it is today, is the emblem of this pure devotional mood. And so the devotees take shelter of Krishna's internal potency, as it says Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanastu mam parta daivim prakritim ashrita bhajantyananya manaso gyatva bhutitim avhiyam. That the devotees who are great souls, they take shelter under the internal potency of Krishna, which means Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Therefore, when we say Hare Krishna, we're saying Hare, which is the vocative form of Hara, which refers to Krishna's primal Shakti, Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. So we say Hare, which means, oh, Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, please engage me in Krishna's service. So we say Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this means, oh my Lord, oh energy of the Lord, Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, please engage me in your service. So the devotees, from chanting Hare Krishna, are able to take shelter under Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, the internal potency of Krishna, the Hladini Shakti, and they feel happy and satisfied because they're engaging their senses in the service of Krishna, pleasing his senses. And therefore, the day of Radhashtami is extremely important to all the devotees because she is the one who's offering us service to Krishna and giving us an opportunity to come closer to him. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the quintessential teachings of Bhakti Yoga, it's mentioned in many ways that the process of devotional service is especially effective. There are many different paths that people take according to their present conditioning, and therefore the Vedas have a number of different ideas for people. For instance, there's the Puranas, which are an explication of the Vedas in ways that people can understand more easily because they're written mostly in story form that explain what the Vedic process is. And there are certain kinds of Puranas that are meant for people who are in lower modes of nature, like ignorance and passion. Then there are some Puranas that are in the mode of goodness. And then there's a Purana which is celebrated as the Amala Purana. It doesn't even touch the material mode of goodness, it's beyond that. It's called Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Śrīmad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. It's a transcendental Purana, and it is especially recommended to come in contact with Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, the process of devotional service, to understand it completely. One should simply engage in hearing the Śrīmad Bhagavatam daily, because the sound vibration itself comes from the spiritual world, and one who hears it, as described in the Bhagavatam, tadvag visargo janataga viplavo, which means that you'll undergo an evolution, a natural evolution in your life by hearing the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, the verses of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. It's also said in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, Shrinvatam swakata Kṛṣṇa punya shravana kirtana, which means that just by hearing the verses of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam on a daily basis, you'll acquire natural spiritual wealth within your heart, just by sitting and listening, by giving the time to hear the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, or you can sit and read it yourself. Therefore, Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu, and this is extremely important, is Kṛṣṇa, but he's the combination of Kṛṣṇa and Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī together. So this is described in the Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita. Radha Kṛṣṇa pranaya vikritir hladini shakti rasmat eka manav api bhuvipura deha bedam gatautau. Chetam nyakyam prakadamaruna tadvayam shaikyamatam. Radha bhava duti suvalitam nami Kṛṣṇa sarupam. This means that Kṛṣṇa, who is the Supreme, has, for his own enjoyment, taken two forms. Because no fun just being by yourself, right? Say yes. Okay, that's why you're all here, right? You came for the party. So nobody likes to sit by themselves. In fact, according to Amnesty International, the worst type of torture for any human being is to put them in solitary confinement. It's inhuman. It's a horrible thing to do to people, to put them in solitary confinement so they have no social interaction with anybody. We eternally want to enjoy rasa, or interaction with other living beings. As I already described, interaction with other living beings in the material world for our own sense gratification ends up in everybody being dissatisfied sooner or later. No matter how nicely it starts, there's always a rough patch somewhere along the line. So God is one, but he expands himself, eko bahusham, into many for his own enjoyment. And his first expansion for his own enjoyment, or the Hladini Shakti, is called Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Therefore, we have this verse, Radha Kṛṣṇa pranaya, for love, pranaya vikritir Hladini Shakti rasmat. There's a special way in which God enjoys eternally and ever increasingly in the spiritual world, and that is between himself and his first manifestation of his Shakti, or his potency, who is personified as Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Therefore, we worship Radha and Kṛṣṇa, not just Kṛṣṇa alone. Radha and Kṛṣṇa go together. How about Narayan? We just worship him alone, right? Huh? Only three people? Lakshmi Narayan. How about Ram? Ram by himself? No, Vaiśeṣika Das. It's Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayan, and Radha Kṛṣṇa. So Radha Kṛṣṇa pranaya vikritir hladini shakti rasmat. This is the source of all happiness. All happiness comes from this union between Radha and Kṛṣṇa. This is what the secret of devotional service is. When we serve Radha and Kṛṣṇa, then we enter into that internal potency where there's eternal, ever-increasing happiness. When we try to set up our own little program here, a little Ponderosa, you know what that is, Ponderosa, those guys are laughing, a little scene for our own happiness in the material world, and we try to pretend we're Kṛṣṇa, then it ends up in suffering, IRS calls, you lose everything. Yeah, I know it's a family show. So anyway, in the spiritual world, everyone worships Radha and Kṛṣṇa, and therefore they enter in. Radha Kṛṣṇa pranaya vikritir hladini shakti rasmat ekat manav api bhuvi pura deha bedam gatauto. Now here it comes. Get ready. Chaitanyakyam prakadamaduna tadvayam chaikyam aptam. So what was two, Radha and Kṛṣṇa, wait for it, becomes one in Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. So there's a reason for this. Kṛṣṇa is God. He's the supreme enjoyer, but Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī enjoys more than him. So he thinks, I'm the supreme enjoyer. I want to taste what she's enjoying. So I, God, will come as my own devotee. And that's what he does. So when that happens, you're in luck. That means you're all in luck, because he was just here recently. And he brought with him a process, a devotional service by which you can worship Radha and Kṛṣṇa through Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu in a simple process called Sankirtan. This is the Yuga Dharma. Everyone say Yuga Dharma. Yuga Dharma. By chanting Hare Krishna, which is an address of prayer to Radha and Kṛṣṇa in the spiritual world. This is what Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu taught as the method for purification in this age. And he also taught that if you read Srimad Bhagavatam every day, along with chanting Hare Krishna, then you'll become you'll know all the details of devotional service, so much so that you'll never be fooled again by the illusion of the material world by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, at the outset of Srimad Bhagavatam says, Tato Jayam Udirayat. This is your means of conquest. Read Srimad Bhagavatam. What's the first part? Okay, not everyone got it. The first part is read Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, we got that. Second part is chant Hare Krishna. Okay, let's test it out. Correct. 2. That's all you got to do. So Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu approved of these methods. This is the Yuga Dharma. And Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is a representative of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. That's why he's sitting on the Vyaśasana. This is the seat of representing the parampara, or the disciplic line that comes from Kṛṣṇa, and especially in our organization through Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu. And here's a pop quiz. It's worth 20 points. What did Srila Prabhupada bring with him? He didn't have any money, by the way. I'm just telling you right now. But he came on a cargo ship, and what did he bring with him besides, he didn't even have a toothbrush. 20 points for all my friends. Everyone wins. Everyone's a winner here at ISV. Very good. He brought with him Srimad Bhagavatam and the Hare Krishna mantra. That's it. Period. So that's all you need to know. And to enter into the process of devotional service, you can take this anywhere. Take your Srimad Bhagavatam, put it in your house. It's nice to have. I gave a set of Srimad Bhagavatams to a friend the other day, and they put it up on their mantle, and it changed their whole house, because the physical copy of Srimad Bhagavatam, according to the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, is a deity of Kṛṣṇa. So having it physically there in your house, it is the deity that gives the most mercy, because you can go to that deity, you can take a volume and open it and see the pictures, you can feel the weight of the book, and then you can read the verses that are in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And by doing that, and then taking a little time out of your day and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. You're contacting the Hladini Shakti, you're taking shelter of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī in a very practical way. It's accessible to everybody in the Kali Yuga age. And by that, you're guaranteed that you'll feel natural satisfaction. Thank you very much. So many people called in and wrote in that wanted to use this occasion, Radhashtami, it's a special day, to gift a set of Srimad Bhagavatams to somebody they know. I did it the other day, as I mentioned earlier, and it's overwhelmingly positive experience bringing the Bhagavatam into somebody who's only knew a little bit about yoga, meditation, things like that. They were so excited to receive the sets and put them up in their home. And so what's happening now worldwide is a special campaign that is to observe what is called Bhadra Purnima. You all know what a Purnima is. It's the full moon, and it's coming up this month. This month is called the month of Bhadra. So it just so happens in the month of Bhadra, during the full moon, when you give away a set of Srimad Bhagavatams to somebody else, you get the return gift of reaching the supreme destination. Now, I'm not making this up. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. And around 6 years ago, although we had read that several times, we noticed it, and we brought it to the attention of those around the world who love the Srimad Bhagavatam, who love the culture of Krishna consciousness, and who feel that the best way to preserve the culture of Krishna consciousness is to distribute it to as many other people as possible, especially through literature, which is an age-old way to inculcate knowledge and idea seeds into human society. After all, the great philosophies of the world, ideologies, come only into the human society very deeply after they've been explicated and articulated in writing, and especially in book form. So our line of teachers that come all the way from Brahma at the beginning of creation are known for passing down knowledge, and most recently through using the printing press, which they call the Brihat Madanga. This is a Madanga. Let's hear it a little bit. Something. Could you all hear that? Could they hear it across the street? No. So Brihat means bigger, or the big Mridanga. So the big Mridanga is the printing press. And the reason it's called the bigger Mridanga is because the kirtan we just sang that could be heard probably by the neighbors, but not much further, not at the 7-Eleven down there. When you write it down, you abstract your singing and your speaking, and you put it in writing, and then you pass it on to other people. It becomes louder and louder and louder because it goes everywhere. And our teacher and founder Acharya noticed this, that during his time, one of the presidents of the United States had a son and daughter who were happened to be walking on the mall in Washington, D.C., and some devotees approached them and gave them some transcendental literature, the kind that we're talking about now, and they took it right in the White House. And Prabhupada said this Mridanga they wouldn't let in there, but those went right in. So it's our age-old tradition to expand the sound vibration of the Krishna consciousness movement and of the spiritual world, most particularly in the Srimad Bhagavatam, through disseminating it to as many people as possible. Every time a Bhagavatam goes out, it creates this spiritual aura in the house, in the neighborhood. It becomes a center of spiritual education. What to speak of the villages of India, we have video proof where the Bhagavatam went out, and then they put it in the learning center, and people notice it. They start congregating around the Bhagavatam, hearing it. The only problem is, up till then, they don't have authentic literature. They don't have anything in there. So other people come in and tell them things, and they become disoriented. So the Bhagavatam brings things back into focus, the real purpose of life.